in the neighborhood was, right? I want to know the toughest man on the planet is. That's what we're going to find out.
Hi, and welcome to What the Flick. We have a very muscular, manly day in store for you. We've been to the gym in preparation for this review. Can you tell?
No.
I'm Christy. This is Matt Atchity. That is Alonso Duralde. We're going to talk about Warrior.
Brendan, it's me, Pop.
What are you doing here?
Tommy's back.
Did he say if he wants to see me?
I'm proud of you, Tommy. What you did for that kid in the tank.
What was I supposed to do, let him drown?
A very broken family. The father's played by Nick Nolte. His two sons are UFC fighters. One of them comes back after 14 years, played by Tom Hardy. Nobody's seen him. He gets into this tournament, and his older brother, who needs to make ends meet, also gets into this tournament, and hijinks ensue.
How much do you need?
I didn't come here for long, Frank. I was hoping that you would train me.
Are you serious?
There's this big tournament. Top 16 middleweights in the world. But when it takes all, I'm gonna need a trainer of that much you were good at.
This is impossible. The two men fighting for the championship tonight are brothers. Go war!
Are we here to win this fight? Because if we're not, I will throw in the towel.
So we're sitting here marveling at the hunkiness of both Joel Edgerton and Tom Hardy. What did he do at the gym that made his traps like pop up off of his shoulders?
He must be hitting the
freakish.
juice. He's got to be hitting the juice. Well, but Tom Hardy's a big dude.
It's method acting. But he's like 5'10". He's not tall,
no,
right?
but he's
like
I mean,
buff.
you know, he slimmed down a little bit, it seems, when he was in Inception. But if you go back and look at the
Bronson,
like,
badass
he's a
Bronson.
monster in that movie,
Yeah.
right? I mean, he pumps up, and he's big in this.
Yeah, and I love that he can really do anything. If you look at Bronson, if you look at Inception, they're all really different roles. But I also love that he got asked in some interview about if he'd ever had a gay experience. And he was really candid in his response. He's like, I'm an actor, and we all need to try different lifestyles to know what we're doing for this job. I'm like, you're a badass. Like, you admitted that you've had gay experiences.
He's awesome in this movie. He's awesome. Joel Edgerton is great, although I have to say, I wouldn't necessarily believe that they're both in the same weight class. But whatever, you know, it's fine. It works for the movie. And I think this is the best thing that Nick Nolte has done in the last 10 years. I think that his performance here is amazing.
It's very subtle, but very moving.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff.
It's very powerful.
I like that a lot.
I'm going to go big early and say that I loved this movie.
Okay.
I think that this is one of the best things that I've seen in the last 8 or 9 months.
Wow.
I loved this movie. I found it really moving. It makes me think of Rocky in a good way. And as much as, there are cliches in it, I found them to be really well executed, and that worked for me, and it kind of kept me guessing. You know, you think, okay, it's going to be, you know, the old recovering dad, and, you know, he's trying to make peace with his sons, and they're bitter and angry at him, but they just make it work so well. I really bought into it, and I was kind of choked up at the end.
You were not nearly so choked up.
Well, the thing is, I was with this movie. I liked it a lot. I think the family dynamics are really interesting, and I think the sort of hokey, old school fight film stuff is really interesting. And in my review on The Wrap, I said that like Edgerton was really giving me a Cagney vibe, and Tom Hardy was giving me a Bogart vibe. And I don't usually throw those names around for contemporary movie stars, but you know, they really kind of bring that sort of. There's a lot of just, you know, the physicalness of the role, but then also with the charm and with what they're doing with their eyes and stuff.
There's a danger and an unpredictability to Tom Hardy's performance that
no question.
You're scared of him.
He's doing this very like tormented young Brando thing. That's who I compare.
He made me think of Brando.
But I like the way that he was really intense, and he almost dares you to not like him, which a lot of actors are not willing to do. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So I was so with this movie until the ending, and the ending really loses it for me, and I'm going to talk about it in a way that isn't a spoiler. You know from the trailer that it's all about the two brothers getting in the ring and battling each other.
They have to end up in the finals.
Yeah, we know
like
that's
Karate Kid. We know what's going to happen.
We know that's where the movie's going, and that's fine. But there's two big problems with that for me. One, because the movie has made you sympathize with both characters, you're rooting for both of them.
Which I liked. I thought that was awesome.
But there was no easy answer to that.
But I find that sort of dramatically unsatisfying because you if you're rooting for both of them, you don't care who wins because either way, it's a good thing, and either way, it's a bad thing. So I found it strangely distancing. I didn't realize until that moment. Oh wait, I'm rooting for both of them. Like that.
No, that's what I liked about it.
Okay, and for a lot of people, for me, that was a problem. The other problem for me is that the two of them have like one conversation early on where it's clear that Tom Hardy is not willing to forgive Joel Edgerton for sins of the past, and that's great, and that's part of the whole interesting, weird family dynamic in the movie. But then the movie pretends that beating the crap out of each other provides them with the emotional catharsis of their relationship that the conversation and whatever else didn't. And I was like, did I miss that part? Like that didn't ring true for me
That's
at all.
the whole point of the movie, is that they have to beat the crap out of each other to work through all these years of resentment and then come out just bloody and exhausted. That's the whole point of the movie.
I feel like that's the only thing Tom Hardy's that the brother Tommy understands, is that all his life, they keep making references to Theogenes and his unbroken streak, and all his life he's been, he was a championship wrestler when he was young,
never defeated,
and was in the military, and you find out about his, a little bit about what happened to him in the military, and here's a guy who is broken. He's really, really broken, and I feel like the only way he and his brother can make any connection is in the ring.
It has to be primal.
And you know what? It is cliched, but that I was okay with that.
Yeah.
I didn't even think it was a cliche. It didn't communicate to me that was what was happening, and so I didn't. I felt like, oh, so it was almost like there was a scene missing for me, or like, oh, so this happened.
Oh no! See, I found that there was a certain amount of horror in that final fight scene. Where at one point one of them's injured and continues to go on, and I'm just, it's so you
hard to
see
watch.
The self-destruction in that scene that is almost a microcosm of the whole movie, and that really moved me. I found that to be really powerful.
And look, I think that there is a lot of Rocky to this movie, and for much of it, I felt that way too. And I know that for a lot of people, the ending was great, and that there were dudes trying to not be caught crying in the screening that I went to.
I was one of them.
Let me know. It's okay.
Exactly.
So I'm willing to concede that it didn't work for me, but that it will work for a lot of people. And so I am recommending this movie. I mean, I gave it a fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. For me, it fell apart at the end a little, but there's so much good stuff going into that. The performances and just the way the film is structured. Director Gavin O'Connor has done a couple of sports movies like Miracle and Pride and Glory, but he also did Tumbleweeds, which was that cool little movie about the dysfunctional mom and daughter kind of rambling around. So he gets both the sports stuff and the family stuff really well. So I will recommend this movie, but but with a caveat that the ending didn't work for me.
Everyone is great in this. You said there's a scene missing for you emotionally. I think there's way too much going on here. The estrangement and the resentment and the intensity there is enough for me, and the struggles for forgiveness are enough for me. They have all these other threads, like Tom Hardy's this war hero, like Joel Edgerton's daughter has this heart problem. Like, in order to get to that finale of the two of them,
it does
you
pile
have
on.
the obligatory badass Russian, who's actually
that's so extraneous.
Kurt Angle, a U.S. wrestler, a gold medal-winning Olympic wrestler.
Doing Ivan Drago.
It doesn't matter who
who
they fight to get to each other. They're going to get to each other, and the Russian guy comes out of nowhere. So there's too many different strands. There are too many obligatory cutaways to Kevin Dunn, who's the principal at the school where Joel Edgerton works, jumping up and down in his living room. Like 1 or 2 would be fine. You don't need 18 of them. It's way too long. This movie's 2 hours and 20 minutes long.
I have to say, I did like the fight scenes leading up to it. I liked seeing Edgerton's character struggle through his fights, and at one point his trainer says to him during one of the fights, like, if you don't win this, you don't go home.
Right.
You don't have a home.
Right.
Like, he's fighting for his house. Right. I liked that. I found that really powerful. And some of the shades of Mike Tyson that you see in Tommy, I really liked. I thought those worked. I did think that they did pile it on from time to time. There's a moment where suddenly things seem to be kind of okay with the dad, and I felt like that was not completely explored. But I do, to go back to that character, to go back to Nick Nolte, who has been doing, for the last 10 years, his kind of crabby, irascible character. He plays it really small here. And was riveting.
It's really heartbreaking,
and it's heartbreaking.
And there's no easy forgiveness or resolution to any of that stuff, which is great.
And there's a scene, and I'm not going to spoil what happens, but there's a scene, about 2/3 into the movie, towards the end of the second act, between Tom Hardy and Nick Nolte, that is riveting.
Really powerful.
It's one of the most powerful things I think I've seen in a movie in years.
That's all great, and when it focuses on that,
Right.
it's fine, but there's too much extraneous stuff going on. It is way too long. This movie should never be 2 hours and 20 minutes long. It could be a good half hour shorter. It get really repetitive for me. Anyway, but I liked it not quite as well as you did, so let's do numbers.
It's a tempered recommendation, but I'll say a 6.3.
Okay, I'm saying 6.8. I liked it a little better than you did, but not as well as Matt.
The movie's not perfect, but I really, really enjoyed it. I'm giving it a 9.
9. Matt's going big.
I'm janking the score
That's
up.
going big. So that's a 7.4 average thanks to Alonso's freakish math skills. And it's pretty high on the tomato meter right
It's
now,
about
right?
89, 90%,
Yeah.
depending on the reviews. It's certified fresh.
And
Definitely
I
a
don't think you need
recommendation.
to know anything about UFC or MMA.
No,
I don't even
no.
know the difference between UFC and MMA. I'm sure you guys out there might know more than I do about this stuff. But I don't think you need to know that at all. It's a family drama, and
Right.
anyway, it's very intense.
Male weepy.
Go see it and enjoy. Take care. Bye.